As we speak, the oil tanker Proteus Bohemia is steaming on its way to Australia. It left the port of Jamnagar in India on the 8th of November, and it's currently off the southern coast of Western Australia and due to arrive at Botany in about 5 days' time. Now, this ship is carrying 78,000 tonnes, thereabouts, of petroleum products which are destined for Australian cars. And those products have come from Russia because the refinery at Jamnagar takes about 47% of its crude oil from Russia, which means the Proteus Bohemia's products are about 47% Russian crude oil. And it means that once that ship arrives early next week and these petroleum products come ashore in Australia, they will be finding their way into Australian cars, with Australians paying, in effect, to fund Russia's ongoing war of aggression against Ukraine. Australia imposed, and rightly so, sanctions on the direct importation of Russian oil soon after the invasion of Ukraine. But since 2023, we have been importing a simply massive amount of Russian crude that is refined in third countries, predominantly India and Turkey, to a lesser degree Singapore, and effectively have been evading or flouting or denying the main purpose of those sanctions, which is to stop hard currency going to fund Russia's war machine. Since 2023, according to the Centre for Research on Energy and Clean Air, we've imported more than 3 million tonnes of Russian origin oil product. And that makes us, according to this same centre, the biggest importer of Russian crude products refined in third countries. Australia, not a large country, not a large petroleum consumer, is now the largest importer of Russian crude products refined in third countries. According to these estimates, Australia has now contributed about $2 billion to the Russian government treasury through these importations. And over the same period, we've given about $1.5 billion to support Ukraine's defence against this war of aggression. So here we are buying refined Russian oil products and contributing $2 billion to Russia's war effort. And in the meantime, we have been consistently slipping down the league of contributors to Ukraine, so that we are now in a situation where Australian taxpayers are effectively giving more to the Russian side in this war than the Ukrainian side. Our allies have got the message. The US has imposed comprehensive sanctions against Rosneft and Lukoil in recent weeks, two of Russia's major oil producers, and Europe will ban the importation of petroleum products from third countries that are produced using Russian crude from the 21st of January 2026. Australia needs to be doing the same. The war in Ukraine is now entering its fifth year, in fact. It's in its fourth year. It will be entering its fifth year from early next year. And this has become an attritional conflict. Russia has the bulk of the manpower. Ukraine is fighting valiantly in its own defence. But the predominance of Russian manpower plus the Russian treasury is what is allowing Russia to continue to wage this war. About 25% of Russian government revenue comes from oil and refined oil products. So it is instrumental, it is material in funding Russia's war effort, and Australia should be playing no part in supporting that effort. Now, Senator Wong, the Foreign Minister, was in India last week, and I know she did discuss this issue, and she said while she was there, the war in Ukraine is both illegal and immoral and contrary to global interests and contrary to our national interests. Well, I agree with that sentiment entirely, which is why Australia should be taking steps to make sure that Australian taxpayers, Australian consumers, Australian households are no longer supporting Russia's war effort. So I call on the Australian government, close this loophole, stop Australia from unwittingly funding Ukraine's war effort. I call on the Australian government, get in step with our allies, support Ukraine in its defence of its own people and its own homeland, and do not contribute a further cent, a further dollar to Russia's illegal and immoral war of aggression against Ukraine.